everyone. Welcome to today's live. I'm so excited because we do have an absolute powerhouse joining us, and it's Dr. Erin. If you're ready to level up your mindset, crush your self doubt, and step into unstoppable success, then you're in the right place. So, Dr. Erin, a little bit about Dr. Erin. She's an expert in the neuroscience, mindset, high performance, and success psychology. She's helped countless of business professionals and entrepreneurs transform their confidence, income, and definitely impact and fast. Today, she's going to share the number one mindset shift and what you need to do to create massive success. So, Dr. Erin, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you, Alphin. I'm great. I just want to thank you for what you're doing, showcasing incredible women in these interviews. Thank you for your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for, being here, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So, a little bit about you, Dr. Erin, and how's your day?
It's been a lot. I got to admit, this time that we're in the world, I'm just surfing all the feelings. So I just want you all to know you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, have I been in trading for such a time as this? Probably. Okay. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Just all the emotions, I feel like, especially even last year, and then coming to this year, a lot of uncertainty and doubt, right?
Yep. It's a lot.
So we'll dive right in. What is the biggest mindset shift that can change everything for someone looking to level up?
Thank you for that question. That's a biggie. And, when I think back on my journey into personal development and wanting to create a life that I just was in love with, my dogs at the door. Oh, honey, can you take the dogs out when I'm alive? Sorry, everyone. Real life. I'm like,
No worries.
Okay. Go ahead, honey. Take them outside or take them somewhere. Okay. That's Zachary. He just came home. This is going to sound so contrite and simple, but it really was a decision. And so one thing I want you to understand is you can just decide, and you can maybe decide sooner. So I was training years ago for a bodybuilding competition, and I was working with a physical trainer, and he goes, Erin, why is your last rep your best rep? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, no, it shouldn't be that way. Why is your last rep your best rep? And I said, I don't know. I just decide. And he goes, decide sooner.
Oh.
And I thought, oh my goodness, if that's not a great lesson, right? And I think, again, it can sound so simple, but first you have to decide. I was thinking about the definition of a high performer, and the definition of a high performer is someone that has success on their own terms, their own definition of what would lead them to feel really fulfilled and alive and joyful in their life. They kind of have it all. They have world-class relationships. They have world-class health, a world-class spiritual life. And they have a lot of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And so wouldn't you want to just decide that that's what you're going to go and create in your life? And you can just decide that and say, okay, I'm ready. And so one of the things that high performers, when you look at that definition, Alphin, is you do have to be kind of hungry. You kind of have to want to do something with your life, to feel a certain way. You have to have some of that hunger. Not everyone wants to live that way, but for those that do, there's a specific pathway. It's not rocket science. It's not a mystery. It's just science. And there's an exact pathway of how do I become one of the happiest people that I know? So the mindset shift is you have to decide if you want, because then you can figure everything out.
I agree. It starts there because I feel like a lot of people, think that they need a lot of strategies, more training, more reading, which is all great. But just as you were saying, it starts here and starts with deciding. So I love that. Very powerful. And I love that you correlate it with training because it's so true. You tend to do your best at the very end, but why?
I know. He's like, well, just make a different decision. I was like, okay.
I like that. So, okay, so besides this, so after deciding, now let's talk about action. How can someone apply this in their daily life?
You know, so many people are like, well, how are you fearless? Like, how do you do this? How do you train your brain? How? And,
Mhm.
you know, as a psychologist of 22 some years, we know exactly how to train your brain for success and happiness. And because we're on this live, I'm going to go through it really quick because you can go back and write these down. But here's the deal. You're going to reach success, not in spite of your humanity, but because of it. And what I mean by that is you're going to have feelings, you're going to have emotions. The people that make it to the summit of whatever mountain they're climbing in life, they don't make
Mhm.
it because they don't have negative thoughts or they don't have negative feelings. They make it to the top because they are the observer of their thoughts. They are not their thoughts. And that philosophy, if you can really understand, I am the observer of my thoughts, I am not my thoughts, gives you what's called choice. So you have a choice of looking at what your brain is telling you. So pick any negative thought you have. Everyone's got one. Everyone's got one right now in
Every
their
day,
life. Like
yeah.
you never outgrow this brain that's going to come up with these things. And
Mhm.
do these 4 steps. Observe the thought. Okay, I'm having the thought that I'll never make it. The second step is validate the thought. And this is my favorite sentence to do this with, is just say, it makes perfect sense I'm having this thought. Okay, so maybe I'll say, Alphen, okay, I'm having the thought that I'll never make it, whatever that means to a person. It makes perfect sense I'm having this thought because I never made it. And okay,
Yep.
the third step is to thank your brain. And this is so counterintuitive, but the brain's job is to keep you safe. The brain's job is to say, hey, let's collect the data.
Mhm.
Let's make sure she doesn't look like a fool. Let's make sure she doesn't lose her money. Let's make sure she doesn't lose her reputation. Let's make sure she doesn't get rejected. Well, that's not going to cut it for an entrepreneur. That's
Mm.
the definition of entrepreneurship. So we're going to thank our brain for trying to protect us. So I say, thank you, brain, for trying to protect me from failure and that feeling of disappointment that could possibly happen. So steps 1 through 3 are observe it, validate, and thank it.
And think. Mhm.
And then step 4 is we're going to pivot and we're going to choose the thought that we want. And so you don't get there by pushing away and saying, no, I can't have that thought, or no, just think positive. I have to be an energetic match and I have to think positively all the time. Well, again, you're human.
Mhm.
And so by the 4th step, the power of the pivot is to say something that is true. So you might say, in my example, I might say, well, I've never been closer. And the law of the universe basically is if I keep doing the principles of success, the principles of success will work for me. And I, it's a choice what that last thought is. And so if you can become an observer of your thoughts rather than feel like you are your thoughts,
Mhm.
you will have freedom because they don't go away, but
100%.
the believability of them goes away. Do you see?
Yep.
Yesterday I had a thought, I'm all alone. I was like, that is not true. I'm
Mhm.
feeling alone. Okay, it made sense why I was feeling alone with all the stuff that I was kind of pondering, and I was like, and I am not alone. And but if you don't have that observation, you don't have choice and you don't have
Mhm.
power over your life. So I'll end with this. This is the greatest way I can think of saying it, and I think this will really help people. You don't have control over the first thought, you have control over the second thought.
And would you say, Dr. Erin, and that's really strong, would you say this takes time and practice to really observe your thoughts and, to be able to go through those steps with those negativity?
Sure, I think, things take practice until they're automated, until they're habitual.
Mhm.
Um, and that can happen faster for some than others, but it doesn't have to take years. I see many
Right.
clients in my private practice that are like, I thought I'd be here for years and I think I'm good after like 6 sessions. I'm like, you are like you when you know the pathway, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, you can collapse time with strategies that change the game, right? You can
Agree.
collapse time. It's not about time in, it's about like perspective given.
Agree. It's all about perspective, like you said too, and deciding, you know what? This doesn't have to be a year, 2 years, 10 years from now. This
Right.
could be now.
Right. Right. I could decide sooner.
Agree. Okay, so what are maybe like 2, 3 steps that people can take, actionable steps that they can take now to get better with that mindset?
Okay. So let me back up for a second and give you this construct.
Okay.
The greatest thing that will change your life is figuring out the identity that you want to have. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to give you constructive, like actually do this. Write down on a piece of paper what words would describe you if you were being this successful person in your own definition of success. Remember, what
Yeah.
would she be doing? What would he be doing? Not what would he be doing? Who would you be? Okay. There is a concept I love to share, which is this. It is identity. Success is an identity process. Excuse me.
I love that.
Success is an identity process. And I heard it put this way, and I have a little prop. Okay. What is this called?
Hourglass?
Hourglass. Yes. Thank you. I borrowed it from my daughter and I go, you have a pink hourglass? Pink is my favorite color. I'm like, that
I
is
love
so,
it.
I go, I am keeping this. You can't have it back. She said, it's yours. Okay. I want you to think of if life is sifting through like an hourglass, it's sifting through your identity. And do you have an identity of fear or faith? So life is happening and it's sifting through. Okay. What is this identity that you want to create, and who do you want to be, and be her right now? And what's going to happen is your confidence is going to go through the roof because your self-esteem is going to be high, because the only way to grow self-esteem and to like yourself, not to know you have value on this planet, but to like strong confidence in yourself, is to be the person you say you want to be. So if I'm all day long, like, I really want to be kind, and all day long I'm being mean, I'm going to have it's going to be really hard for me to dig myself. Okay.
Yeah.
The same is true in business. Everything is going to be run through and sifted through your identity. High performers, more than anything else, is they have an identity that is running the show. They're very aware of it throughout the day. They're constantly putting on the identity they desire, from meeting to meeting, from transition to, from work to home. Who do I value being? What is my intention for this experience? They're very alive, very awake in their life. And so write those words out and then ask yourself, what would I be doing if I was my words? If your word is, I would be dependable, start to be dependable. If your word is confident, start to figure out, how can I increase my skill set? That's one of the greatest ways to grow confidence, is not
knowledge.
Just to look at, yes, like not just to look in the mirror and be like, I am great at blah blah blah. No, you're not. Like, go skill up. I did that. You've probably done that. I've hired many mentors. Skill up. That will grow your confidence. And then here's the trick. And I know that we've talked about this before, Alphen, but here's the secret. Once you've figured out the identity, the greatest way to change your thinking is through your behaving.
Yes.
And I think that strikes people as an interesting concept to hear from a psychologist who does talk therapy all day, that no, we're not going to try to change your thinking. We're actually going to change your behaving, and that's going to change your thinking. So like the behaving, your thinking follows it. It follows it. If you go and keep the promises you make to yourself, if you go and make the sales calls,
And that's exactly, people, like, an example is, actually doing the thing, before, because you can think, oh, I'm going to be successful, if I do this, but you will actually go through the process if you um, do the action of making the calls, because then you'll see the results and you're like, oh, wow, then, a different perspectives come by it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And another thing I've learned through what you just said is when you start reading, you form different perspectives, because you may think a different way or a certain way before you did that action of reading. But then after you read, you're like, wow, I'm now my whole perspective has changed. So when you said that, that's how I can relate from some of the things I've done. I'm like, totally, yeah, it totally changes when you're actually doing the work, doing the
Yes.
things that you said you're gonna do in order for you to improve. So I'm like, you're right.
I know. And then I think so many of us get stuck there of, but how do I do it? Because I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. You do it terrified. And then you're not so terrified the next time. And then you do it again and you get better. But you just say, come along, fear. We're gonna go do this thing. Because remember, the brain's job is to try to protect you. It's like, abort, abort, you
Mm-hmm.
are at risk. What are you doing? This new thing you're doing.
Yes.
And you're like, I got us. And you kind of talk back to your brain. You're like, I hear you. Thank you for trying to protect me. And here we go. And here we go. Right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
about toxic positivity. It's not about like, no, cancel, delete. I can't feel fear. No. No, it's like, come along. The more you allow the resistance, the more the resistance goes down. It's quite spectacular.
No, I totally agree. And just like even before we went on live, and I told you this is one of my fears, and I'm
Mhm.
facing it because just as you say, you get more comfortable the more you do it. And even the last time I saw you spoke was very powerful as well. It's like you can make that shift and decide now. You don't have to wait. And that's honestly, like, every time I've heard you speak, Dr. Erin, like, it's been like, yeah, let's go. It's always like so motivating, and I'm ready to just crush it, and
I'm
it's all
glad.
here. So very
We
powerful.
are the number one reason for our success, and we are the number one obstacle to our success. It just is.
So one last question before we end the live. What is the biggest mindset shift that separates high achievers or high performers from anyone else?
The biggest mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say these three words, and I might have said them a couple minutes ago, but I think it encapsulates the intention. Be her now.
Be her now.
And that mindset shift, be him now, be her now. The idea behind that is, if I do what she would do, it's inevitable I will have what she desires. Like, how it's
Very
such a
powerful.
cool truth and
Mm-hmm.
promise. And all you need is possible. You're going to train your brain to move from the land of probability to the land of possibility. That's all you need. Your brain's wired to be probability based. Like, what's the probability that this will happen? You're like, no, I don't live in the land of probability. I live in the land of possibility. Here I go.
Wow.
You know?
I love that. I love that. And
So
just
good.
like, the mindset of abundance too, because there's like, I'm sure you've talked about this previously, and a lot of people are moving with the mindset of scarcity.
That is really
So
true.
yeah, the moment you do make that shift, you attract all of that abundance and positivity. So I love everything that you're saying, and you know, I'm
Well,
hoping anyone that's watching this now or later can definitely connect with you. And I know you have so much to offer. You have books, you have one-on-one coaching, you have all these things. I went ahead and posted it right here. Let me see if it'll pop up.
amazing. Look at you go.
Oh, is it popping?
I think it's popping up. I don't know what's happening. Something's popping up. Yes, we'll drop all the links.
Yeah, we'll drop the links. Oh, what's going on? Okay, perfect. And then here's your website. So for anyone that's watching, definitely check out her page. I know your page on Facebook have your website and all your information. And anyone that's watching now or later, drop that fire emoji if you want to commit on a successful mindset. You know, drop that comment below if you guys have any questions that you guys want to ask Dr. Erin. Feel free to leave it in the comments. So I'm so excited to have you, Dr. Erin. Thank you for your energy, your wealth of knowledge. Do you have any final words?
Just thank you, Alvin. Have a great day, everyone. And please, yeah, drop your questions. That would be really fun.
Awesome. Let's make 2025 great.
Yes.